Yo, this Brampton Batman guy, I'm seeing him like in person. I saw him, but now he's more on social media again too.
Really?
Oh, the
I
Batman?
knew he existed. I've never really crossed paths with him in person. I've seen the Batmobile on the 410.
I
like a
saw,
bunch of-
yeah, I
I
saw
thought
his
this thing was like
Batmobile
years
by
ago.
Vivian Road, Gurdwara last week,
Guy is active.
and I went to the Gurdwara. That's what you're supposed to take away. But
Congrats. You're really
Good job,
inspired,
sir.
eh?
I do that. I do that. Yeah, I'm a role model.
Oh, yo, Randy, real
Um,
quick. Can you center yourself in your camera a little bit?
Just talking? Well, what's the show about? It's about nothing. It's about nothing.
Just want these guys to know you got another thing coming, bitch. I'm still around.
What, a
Darn.
month? February was the
No.
last time.
Was it?
Early February? Yeah,
let's
it's been a
blame
minute
Robbie
though.
though.
I blame a lot of things, including,
Robbie's
I
too
mean,
busy. You had your office
Here comes-
renovation.
yeah, he's Builder Bob right now for the last 2 weeks.
last 3 weeks, I took 1 week off to go snowboarding, which sucked.
Yeah. Oh, really?
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, does it? It sucked for two reasons. One, it sucked because Air Canada cannot load a bag on an airplane. So when I got there, my snowboard didn't arrive with me. And then I had it this time where I landed and I went straight to Whistler via shuttle. So there's really nothing I could do other than give them my address and be like, please deliver it as soon as you can. And then
Did you fly priority?
I flew priority. I
Oh, that's.
I checked my bag in early.
And
Like,
did you
I
give
showed
me
up
a
early.
tag?
Huh? They
Did you
gave me
give
a,
me a tag?
they gave me a tag.
No.
I don't know
A
about-
big orange tag that says priority.
Orange tag
No,
priority.
I didn't get a priority
Oh.
tag like that.
No,
Oh,
you're.
he ain't
I
priority.
did the,
Yeah.
like my ticket gave me boarding. I was zone 2. Does that count?
No,
That's
that's
all
party
you-
boarding. Party baggage is
so
another
cute.
level.
Hold on, how do you
That
do
is so
priority
cute
baggage?
that
Level
you
you on.
think that's priority.
Hold on, what's
'cause
priority
you-
baggage? Tell me
This
this. There's a thing called priority baggage? What?
Yeah.
How?
You got level up, bro. Level up.
How much more does
Yeah.
that cost?
A
'Cause
lot.
I didn't pay anything for this. Really? It's like guaranteed bag delivery.
Yeah, you have to travel business class and get
Okay,
that orange
you lost me
your
already. You're
bag.
paying.
Your bag comes up first.
Wow. Anyways, I thought showing up early would make sure my bag gets on the plane. So I showed up an hour before I thought I needed to. So like kind of 2.5 hours, 3 hours before the flight. And then I kind of did the mental math. I'm like, if I show up early, my bag's gonna be the one at the bottom because all the other bags should go on top. And then when they're loading the bag, my bag's probably the last one to probably get put on. And then I'm like, shit, that's. Anyways, get there, didn't have my
Yours is the
friggin'
oversized goes in
How's
the
it-
oversized container, right? So
yeah.
it's totally different from the normal baggage process.
And like 80% of the people that I felt like were heading on that plane were carrying snowboards. It seemed a bunch of Gore with their families. I saw a lot of people lugging around snowboards, and skis and stuff. So, anyways,
Did
then of
you-
course you
wait.
get there. They tell you, "Don't worry, it's all good. We're gonna compensate you. Do your rentals. You'll be fine. Enjoy your time." I'm like, dope. Except they don't cover rentals for ski jackets, and no one rents ski jackets. You got to buy them, or snow
Hold on,
pants.
you didn't have any of your bags?
I got my kapre, but like my snowboard jacket and my snowboard pants are in
You
my
put that in the.
in the thing.
I
So
see.
are my goggles. And no one rents goggles because they're like, well, it makes skin contact, so we legally can't rent those out. You got to buy them. And then I was like, look, I could get a board, I could get a helmet, but the fuck, I'm gonna not have pants. And I'm not gonna have a jacket. So yeah, luckily it arrived Monday night, but that killed one day that I was supposed to board, which was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So now I boarded Tuesday, Thursday, and then I flew back Saturday. So it did burn one of my days, and I just didn't have the energy on Friday to board. So
why do you have to have a gap in between?
because I'm old as hell and I'm sore, and I get sore, and I need recovery time.
Just take some creatine, bro.
I didn't pack creatine with me. Like, what the hell? I wasn't thinking I needed. Anyways, so that's one reason it sucks. Second reason it sucked, I got there and I was out of shape. I did one run and I was like, holy smokes, this is exhausting. Unlike
Man, it's
friggin' Blue
going
Mountain,
by.
where you do like a small run, it's like a 40-minute run. Halfway through the mountain, I was like, please kill me. My legs were just on fire. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
It took you 40 minutes to get down the hill.
That's how big these hills are. They're top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain.
Crazy.
If you gun it like hard gun it, you could do it in about 20. 40 minutes
Still, wow.
is, at pace. Basically, when you go there, you can't see the top. You can see like the top base, which is basically what top Blue Mountain would be, and that's basically the end of the run. Like that's your final slow down here. You're at the bottom. It's an amazing place, but yeah, it was a weird experience, and being out of shape did not help. Like I was exhausted before I even started. Just getting all my gear on and getting out the door, I was like, I had a sweat going. So yeah, so I'm gonna enjoy this 10K. That I don't know why. I'm gonna really just stop suggesting things because nothing I suggest makes sense to me in the long run. Like
We
this
just
10K.
postpone it. I'm
No.
down to postpone it. The
You know what
entry
it-
fee is not worth it at this point.
It dawned on me that it's in 7 weeks. Like March is basically done. We're in April.
Even
We got-
though I don't think I'll be able to do it, scheduling issues, but I've been getting in shape for it.
Yeah, so today,
Just gonna show off. Just putting it out there.
today that
I'm not even running it, but I'm still working out.
yeah, so I did a bit of a workout today. So I found a from couch to 10K program, which is basically saying you're fucked. That was like it's highlighted. It's like you're an idiot. What are you trying to do? So right now my goal is if I can work my way up to doing 5K.
And just walk the rest. That's my goal.
If I could do 5K and then, take some breaks in between, I feel like that's a dub. And I feel like once I'm there, after if I do my 5K and I exhaust that 5K, the adrenaline of trying to keep up with the pack and that maybe give me another 2-3 kilometers. Maybe.
No.
You're
no.
gonna think, fuck this, I've done enough.
Huh?
No one
That's when I
knows
call-
me
that's,
here.
that's why when I cross the street, call the Uber and
You go do the full on Kramer. So this is a horrible, horrible, horrible idea. And you guys need to just shut me up.
So we just go ahead and postpone it. Let's do a different one.
October, was that the next one?
No,
I'm just saying that's enough time to train though.
Nah, man, I
If
feel
that's
like
the wedding season.
well, I'm open to suggestions. I'll say that. But I also feel like I want to hold myself somewhat accountable to making shitty ass promises and making shitty ass bets and
Well, you can always adjust it to a 5K. You can change the amount.
yeah, but
There's
that's
a
not
small
near
fee.
as what?
I think there's a small fee for that.
For doing less? I should just do the 5K and go home. Like what the fuck would I pay them for that? It makes no sense. Hey, you know what? I really want to change my thing to the 5K. So here's $30 to do that. Can you please accommodate me? Why not just do the 5K and call it? Like,
Yeah. Well, it's your funeral, so
yeah, so life is good. Anyways, you guys want to do another bet while we're talking about bets?
What do you have in
man.
mind?
So this season I decided now that summer's upon me and I'm kind of retiring from snowboarding for the rest of the year until winter comes, which I'm going to probably come back next winter and say I'm going to do some crazy trying to get in shape for that again. I want to get in shape for golf.
getting in shape for golf.
And so not get in shape for golf, but I want to start golfing more. So I'm kind of curious if we could do some sort of golf challenge.
I'm open to golf.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
You're probably you idiot. You're supposed to say no. You're supposed to stop me. You already failed the first test. But yeah, that is what's good, boys. You guys tell me what's good with you.
Raccoons
know.
for Ranjit.
Yeah, I got a raccoon infestation, so raccoon watch. I still don't
dirty
know
as hell
why we
says.
can't just shoot them. Like, what is it? What's that animal in Florida that the government said, look, we have a problem with them, so you can kill them and it's all good. It's some sort of iguana or something like that.
Oh, really? I don't know.
Iguanas
Yeah,
are tiny
yeah.
though. Imagine taking out a friggin' pistol to shoot this small little thing. You're more likely to shoot yourself.
I guess, but you could run them over. You could like kill them, do whatever you want, and it's okay because they're considered like a pest and a danger to the local ecosystem. So it's completely kosher for you to kill them. So I don't know, man.
What's the rule on raccoons?
You can't do
Well,
anything. It'd have to
really?
be super humane. So right now it's like baby season for raccoons. So I suspect in my eaves trough I have a nest of baby raccoons, and I sealed it shut today. and I started hearing so many like screeches and voices at night. So I'm
For
like,
the illiterate here, not me, of course. What is an eavesdrop?
that thing, that metal thing where the rain.
That's a
that
gutter.
metal paneling
The
at the end
gutter.
of your house.
The gutter.
My man's literally sitting in front of a computer with Google on it. Just Google it, bro.
The gutter. I call it a gutter. I've never really.
The gutter is like the outside one
Gutter
plank,
is a-
but it's
yeah.
attached to like this other metal scaffolding. Or
So it's not really inside your house.
I'm not gonna act like I know what they're talking about, so it's fine. You guys go for it. Scaffolding.
there's a picture of I sent it to you on WhatsApp, you and Robbie. Anyways, the diagram should kind of help you ID what it is. Anyways, they're in there, and the rule is that you can't kill them. So I have to now pay somebody minimum $1,000
Holy
come
shit.
install a
Swear to God.
one-way door.
So you're not allowed
So
just
that-
picking out a bottle of bleach.
No. I can't throw med. Oh, I can throw medicine shit in there, but I can't leave poison in there for
You
them to
baby
eat on.
killer.
I have to get a one-way door installed and let them get out, and they won't be able to get back in. And yeah, that is the rule of the land. I am fucked.
I told you my raccoon story that traumatized me for a freaking year. I had a raccoon pop out of me out of the garbage can, and I was like, but I got smart now. Now I figured it out. I started putting a brick on top of my garbage can.
I got a bungee. You know the car bungee?
Yeah.
We just wrapped that around because our raccoon got smart. He was tossing the brick off. So I had to put a bungee through, so that seals it.
I used to keep my garbage can in the car.
brick thing, they figure out pretty quick.
Oh, well, so far it's worked. Let's keep knocking on wood. Eventually we'll go to the bungee cord. I used to keep it in the garage, but my garage had a rat, and then I just got scared of going into the garage. So I just started to keep it. Rodents, man, I'm telling you, it's like this one insanely primal fear I have. Not fear.
Rodents, eh?
Rodents indoors. Rodents outside, fine. Rodents in a confined space, they win.
Would you guys ever get pets? Do you guys have pets?
I want pets. I want a dog.
Really?
I'll have a pet as soon as my kid is old enough to wake up in the morning and walk it.
I'll walk my own dog. I want the dog to be mine. I don't want him to be my kids. I want my own dog.
Yes, that's interesting.
Why?
But
You don't want a dog?
I don't care. Doesn't do nothing for me.
I think I've planned it out. I think I'm going to wait till my kids are about 12, 13, 14, and then I'm going to get a dog because that's the age that kids start hating you, really hating you.
I had this one idea with the raccoons. You know, Sandy, she came on the show. She has this mini pincher.
Yeah.
So I thought-
I'll be honest. I'm pretty sure a raccoon would kick the shit out of that dog.
You think so? Yo, I was like, yo, what
A
if I just
raccoon's
throw it in
pretty
the
big.
rafters and let the dog like just chase them all out? But they might fuck up the dog.
Mini
I don't know.
pinchers are like very domesticated purse dogs, right?
Yeah.
Now, no disrespect to Sandy's pincher, but I'm going to say it's going to lose to a raccoon. It's going to get up in the trough and be like, what the fuck is this shit?
Especially a mama raccoon. Good luck.
Yeah, but the baby should fucking rip them apart.
I
You
don't
really
know.
want to clean? Okay, 1 second. You really want to go into that thing and clean out carcasses?
No.
Just pay someone. Just get it done, bro.
That's a lot. $1,000 is a lot.
They're like, oh yes. I was like, can you give me like just an estimate of
Yo,
what
you
the-
live in Sheridan area, man. There must be one student willing to do it. Just put up an ad.
I don't need to tell them what rabies is. It's like, don't worry about it.
All right. You guys are just, you went from killing raccoons to poisoning students. This is well, you guys are insane.
All of a sudden, there's another car rally downtown. A bunch of students are foaming at the mouth. I've caused an international incident.
I don't even want to say this. This is so wrong. Let's go back to the pincher. I think that was a better idea.
Yeah.
But yeah,
There must be someone who's willing to do it less than $1,000.
Yeah, they're like, oh, it's. I was like, give me a
call one of-
ballpark idea. They're like, we start off around $1,000. I was like, oh my god.
Call one of these localities where it's like been a slow season, like I don't know, Northern Caledon or something.
And then she
Come
sold
out
it.
there,
And she's like, sir, I do want to, I do want to let you know that this is the season where they have their babies. I was like, fuck.
man, I hired someone to help me get rid of the rat from my garage. First, he denied that it was a rat.
Oh, you got help?
I mean, I called rodent control. It was apparently there's a thing in Brampton. You see signs up everywhere. If you have rats or a thing, call us. Peel
Oh, nice.
Peel will pay for it. Peel region covers it. I didn't realize that till after I paid for it.
There, Robbie goes.
Yeah, Robbie's already gone. Rip. Talking about rats. Anyways, so Peel Region has a program to help remove rats from your property for free, or they give you like a $200 thing. I didn't realize that was a thing because I called a guy who came from outside of Peel to do it, and he made no mention of this program to me. And he wasn't certified by Peel to do it. And literally, this guy came, put poison traps around, and he's like, "Yeah, you have mice, not rats." I'm like, "Dude, I'm pretty sure I have a rat. I've seen it. It's a rat. I know the difference." And lo and behold, like a few months, he's like, "It'll give it a week, it'll be gone." Like 3 weeks later, it was still there. So I did what every spiteful millennial does. I went on Google and gave him a 1-star review. You know, like what else can I do in this situation? I was so pissed that I still had a rat. I couldn't use my garage properly. But yeah, that guy charged hell of it wasn't $1,000.
You did that guy dirty, bro. Just
hey man, I paid for the service, and he said within a week your mice should be gone. I'm like, it's rats. He's like, no, it's mice.
This is the noise that I keep hearing. I'm gonna play it.
Great podcast material right here.
This is what it sound like. This is the sound.
I was half expecting one of those videos with the people sent on WhatsApp where someone's just loud moaning.
Oh yeah.
I thought you were trying to bait us there, but
no. So this is what me and my family.
I just sent a video. I sent a picture to you guys in the group. Look on the WhatsApp group. That was in front of my house.
What is this? Ago. Describe it. This is an auditory platform, not a visual one.
There's two coyotes roaming the street like nothing's going on.
You know, but coyotes, like, I don't mind. They keep these pests away. Like, I want a coyote around. They'll take care of these.
Not when they're howling till 1 a.m, man. Like loud.
Really?
Yeah, dude. They called Brampton. They're not gonna do nothing about it. You
them around here.
You're not allowed to do anything about it. It's their natural territory. So.
I saw a coyote once dropping my kids off to school. They were in like this farm field that we drive by. It was just standing in the middle of this farm field. And I noticed it. I'm like, I should probably call 311. And I'm like, what the fuck are they going to do about it? Someone, once it gets close enough, I heard Castlemore gets a lot of them.
It doesn't hurt a kid or something like that, right? That's
I had my cousin's dogs get killed by coyotes back in a few years back. They were in BC.
Oh, God.
Damn.
So the way it worked, and these were tough dogs. These were like pretty vicious dogs, farm dogs. But yeah, the way the coyote does it, it feigns like it's alone sometimes. They're not really known as pack animals, but they can roam in packs. It kind of baits the dog, runs away, dog chases it, and they jump it. Leave the... So...
All right, so it's pretty crazy. We talked about this for as long as we did, knowing what's going on in Punjab.
What's happening in Punjab? Nothing.
Like we don't wanna. Nobody wants to start.
Look.
Like it's a visa denied for.
It's a sensitive topic, and I think there's two sides to every story. And I think we should take a moment to give both sides. No, fuck it. Let's go into it. What's been going on in Punjab?
The Sacramento shooting.
Yeah, hold on. We'll get into that later.
There's other things going on.
Look, man, it's been a month. This is the first time. Yo, man, you guys make me feel good.
China's taking over elections in Canada. Not a big deal. But
this Punjab thing, did it surprise you that it happened? I was kind of always waiting for it to happen because I knew deep down it was the only way for this stuff to really end. Either Amritpal Singh's movement just fizzles out or this happens.
I mean, I just thought there'd be an arrest warrant because, like, after Janala, I was like, all right, he's got to get arrested for that. And I figured one day there'd be an arrest warrant. There wasn't. Wait a week, still no arrest warrant. Wait a few weeks, no arrest warrant. And then I was like, fuck it, they just backed down.
No, I never thought they'd back down because I thought I saw one of the superintendents or someone say patience. Like there was
planning. You're saying they were planning it.
I heard something about a cop saying, "Yeah, it's done. Don't worry."
Yeah, I just heard like we're reviewing the situation. We're going to review the situation.
I heard something more aggressive. I can't remember where. I just remember reading. I'm like, oh, okay, let's see what goes down. But so what happened in Janala? Let's start there. What was the precipice of? Are you fully familiar with that situation? Because I'm not.
Okay, so. Fuck, someone's gonna fact check me. Fuck, I should have researched. Anyways,
I like how I just put you on the thing. Maybe I should have given you
No. So what happened was one of his
I love being
boys,
the clueless one. This is great.
one of his boys or his associates that's with him, he got arrested. And the basis of the arrest was some guy with mental health issues lodged a complaint against Amritpal Singh's associate. So Amritpal Singh was like, "Yo, guys, like, look, you got the wrong guy. He has a record of like all these false claims. You guys have like, you guys know that he has mental health issues, so you guys took my guy, for no reason, just hand him over." They're like, "No." So Amritpal Singh's like, "All right, well, I'm going to just show up with my boys and protest." And in return, the cops set up barricades in advance of the police station, and armed them with like cops with lathis and guns and shit. So Amritpal Singh, got his people and supporters together. There's a large procession with Maharaj Swaroop and like, imagine Nagar Kirtan. You know how they're in that trailer, the clear trailer with one guy doing Chor Sab Seva, stuff like that. So there's Maharaj Swaroop in that, and they didn't ram the barricades with with the trailer with Maharaj Swaroop in it, but like they pretty much uh, used Guru Sahib's presence there as a shield and kind of pushed through the barricades, and got to the police station, swarmed the police station. I heard that cops were slapped around a little bit. People got hyped up in the crowd. And yeah, they secured the release of their guy. Might seem like nothing, but in a country where and even inciting a protest or a riot is a crime, I figured that this was an easy layup to just charge them with something, and take their guns away, which what everybody, well, Punjab police was trying to do for a long time. Get all the guys with their gun licenses that were part of Amritpal's crew, get them away. I was like, this is way easier now. They've kind of done the job. And then there was like the optics of using Guru Granth Sahib Ji as a shield of sorts. That kind of divided people online. But to the average Punjabi who will take symbolism at like face value, it kind of looked off to a lot of people. So it was kind of polarizing. And yeah, that's not.
And so that was the tipping point, in my opinion, as to, okay, now that happened, now we wait and see what's going on elsewhere. And I heard various takes on, taking the Maharaj Swaroop into that situation. There is precedent for it. It's not like the first time something like that's been done.
Yeah, but like
to that same degree, maybe, but
I agree, but you can't go in there with your educated. Well, excuse me, sir. There's precedent for this. No, it's like on face value. It looks like to the average Punjabi. I'm not talking about a Sikh historian or Twitter historians or people who were on forums like understanding, their faith and their history. I'm talking about people who know about their religion based on what the Granthi and the pen told them. So like Gurmat camp guys that did it once in their life, and that's about it. For them, it's something that would a shock to their senses, a shock to their sentiment, whatever it is. The imagery is kind of shocking, right?
Yeah, and that's when I really saw the real polarization towards Amritpal came after the Janala, where Twitter Spaces have been freaking so packed. It's funny, I don't even spend too much time in Twitter Spaces, but I always see them pop up. I saw the number of Twitter Spaces that I saw come up at that time where people were debating whether or not it was good or not. That's when it really started like highlighting him specifically. And there was this notion that before Ajnala, he hadn't hit the mainstream consciousness. He wasn't on the media as much. He existed in, Sikh circles knew about him and were paying attention to him and were following him. But I felt like Ajnala was the thing that really propelled him onto mainstream news. What's going on with this guy? Who is he? What just happened? Is that fair to say, you think?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, even now, I don't think like he's still a household name in India. It's crazy. But he's definitely getting there. And Ajnala definitely put him on a lot of people's radar. Because it's like, police station attacked. And then you see a bunch of guys with guns and talwara mobbing up a police station. It's like, oh shit, militancy in Punjab. It's very easy to paint, right?
And then you have a guy who really does looks like Sanjay Singh, in at least image wise. And Sanjay Singh was a household name in the 80s, but I don't think Amritpal Singh really got that sort of name recognition until Janala, which kind of made me wonder, was what's happening now with everything? Is this more akin to 84 or prior to 84, where we saw, lawlessness and the disfavorability towards Sikhs coming out like in the 76, 77 stuff?
Prior, I mean, I can't imagine anyone listening to this isn't up to date. So just for the sake of being thorough, now we're almost at the end of March. We're recording on the 26th now. Amritpal Singh is allegedly absconding.
Absconding
Cop-
or absconding?
I think I nailed that one, Robbie.
Robbie Judge. He's like, I'm here.
Sustained.
I think fuck it.
Alright,
You
keep
bring
going.
him right. Anyways, he's absconding. That basically means he's on the lam, he's on the run. As that's what the media and government's saying.
It's been a week now. It literally broke last Sunday. We're recording this Sunday.
Yeah, it broke about a week ago. There were videos of like him in a car driving fast, his boys all getting booked. They were actually kind of bad looking videos, to be honest. Just because of panic, you could sense a panic. It wasn't a very confident like I'm on the run, but I got this. There was a panic that seeped through the video. Anyways, yeah, he's on the run. People think that he's caught. People think that he's already killed. There's protests happening in everywhere in the diaspora. There's car rallies. There's counter rallies as well in front of embassies and consulates. There's a lot of like communal tension. There's a lot of politicians that are saying things. A lot of politicians aren't saying things. It's just a clusterfuck. So we are now in the middle of the clusterfuck. And yeah, if I had to put our timeline and superimpose it on the 80s, I think we are post the shaheeds from the protests that got killed by the cops. Post 78, and just as the government's gearing up for Blue Star.
So post 78 is really when Prachar started coming up saying, look, we've proven to you over the last several years that the government doesn't care about you and that you guys need to get ready because the government's coming. And the only way to do that is now by embracing your Sikhi, because that's what they want to destroy. So that's kind of where you think we're at now in that timeline, if we're going with the whole thing, history repeating itself. Yeah,
and one thing I guess I left out in that summary is, there's mass arrests. It's not just they targeted Amritpal Singh and his close associates. There's mass arrests.
Journalists,
400 people.
Lawyers.
Journalists, lawyers. That's besides the point. I'm just thinking like...
Basically anyone who showed up to a smogum or was anywhere.
I don't think it's that loose as either. But still, people who are arrested, if they weren't... hardened against the state and the government already, just by feeling the sheer, second-class citizenship that they were probably feeling when they, started resisting or started, going along with these Khalistan. They definitely do now. And I'm not talking about the guys who, gave up drugs and just took them. I'm talking about the guys who, kind of felt some ways about the government, kind of felt like they were second-class citizens, kind of, looked up to that rhetoric that Amritpal Singh preached. This is when you are hardened and you get out and you're like, fuck this. Like, I spent a week in jail. I got tortured. I got slapped around. I got humiliated.
Do you think it hardens people, or does it?
The last doubt that I am, a second-class citizen in the country I was born in. Maybe this is like the creation of militancy, right?
But isn't
do you think the government's do you think the government's baiting them into it though? Like they're creating this.
I mean, that's what all nations create their
Yeah, they're
enemies to
creating
some
this
degree,
the
right?
chaos, right? So they can control it. They have a justification to control it. So
But at the same time,
I mean,
I'm sure when they arrest these guys and they slap them around, their thinking is, well, now you got slapped around, you got a warning shot. You better think twice. And that's when people are like, you know what? I was part of it. I thought it was cool. But yeah, this is a little too real for me. I got family and kids at home. Let's just go back to how it was. No?
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
possible?
if this is just a test of people's flight or fight response, then the people who have that flight response, great. But then the other 50% or whatever it is that have that fight response, they are gonna go around saying, "Not I heard this happen to somebody." They're gonna go around as a testimonial. I am the product of what cops can do to you because it happened to me. Rise up with me, and fight back. And it won't just be it. Well, I hope it doesn't escalate to this, but it could just be that it's no longer, naughty and chance and maybe some battering of stores or taxis. Like it could easily get worse, and it could be fueled by what the government's done in this large roundup. So that's a fucked up part of this. And then they have like Amritpal Singh. If it's true that he's escaped and he gets out, I mean, I don't know what that means. If your leader is outside of the country, if that means something to you or not. Um, I honestly, I thought the smartest play would have been, okay, fine, the cops have this arrest warrant. You are on the back foot, but you say, maybe a day or 2 days later that I'm going to show up at this police station with, unarmed and have every media outlet there is possible there and turn yourself over. Because I got to imagine anybody who took this type of, step or responsibility is actually willing to give up their life. And that doesn't just mean like take a bullet for the cause. That also means like maybe you are a political prisoner in life for jail, right? It's easier said than done, but I'm not the one who's like talking that game.
One thing that kind of got me though was, and this is something that Gurkeerat Singh, he's this photographer who lived with Amritpal Singh over the last few months and who made some posted a lot of cool videos on YouTube and stuff, really dissecting into Amritpal Singh's philosophy and what his goals were and all that kind of stuff. He said, look, the police were given their itinerary every day. The police knew where he was going. He was going to go to Musewala's Barsi the next day and speak there. He was invited as a guest to speak. The police knew where he was going to be. If they wanted to capture him, it's not out of the norm to just...
it's not very difficult. Yeah.
It's not difficult. They literally, police would show up at his house in the morning. They would serve them cha, because that's just the Punjabi hospitality thing to do. Cops were were interacting with the family at that time. Apparently, were very civil, to say the least. They were just like, "Look, we're doing our job. We're just here to keep an eye that nothing bad comes, and maybe even protect you from like gangsters or whatever that you are saying are after you or might be after you." And it sounded like it was a very civil discourse and relationship that they did have, and that he wasn't this like the cops just don't know where he is. The cops always at all times knew what was going on and what he was capable of, but they chose to, all right, we're coming after you now, go. And they kind of...
I don't. Was it directed by the the state police, or was it directed by the central government? Like, what's the? I'm oblivious
So
to most of this. So.
technically state police.
And now
But-
Randy's going to tell us the real story about Aam Aadmi Party. And remember you
Yeah,
going into
well,
this?
No, I'm just wondering.
no.
Is it like, do they have an equivalent on an FBI that's kind of saying, okay, well, this is a domestic terrorist kind of angle that they've taken now, so it heightens their powers, or is it more from a local level where there's just like, the situation you described before?
Well,
That's what the arrest warrant's for. We're going after him because of that.
It's Bhagwant Mann who, on paper, is the one who is the one who signed the paper to make this happen. Before he got elected, and one of the biggest critiques of the party he is the face of in Punjab, Aam Aadmi Party, is that they are puppets of Kejriwal, who is the one who started the party and currently the Union CM of Delhi. Aam Aadmi Party wants to model itself as a party that could be a national party. They want to show that when we are elected in states that we can govern. So not only is there pressure from Modi Sarkar to a certain point, there's pressure from Kejriwal, and this is all based on rumor and conjecture and what the motive could be, for what's happening. But it's more and more becoming, I guess, accepted. It's an accepted view that Bhagwant Mann did this because he had pressure from central government, and this kind of cements the previous rumors that he's merely just a figurehead or a puppet for central powers or Kejriwal. And I totally agree with that. It's my personal view. I think it's simply just a puppet. And this move kind of cements it. The Ajnala incident, it really shows, or looked like to me, that they were unsure of how to handle Amritpal Singh. And that only once there was pressure from people outside of Punjab did Bhagwant Mann's hand get forced and take the step that he took. I don't know if it was, a buildup of months and months, and it was just like them biding their time.
Do
I
you think
think
it's
they
just?
were
Do you
legit
think
just
it's?
scratching their heads.
Do you think they're just making big mistakes along the way, like cutting the internet was
Oh, this is
just
terrible.
which is a terrible decision, and it's the optics of it are so bad at this point. It's like, I mean, they can't apologize. I mean, you can't say like, yeah, we screwed up.
It's pretty fucked that that's like even a step. Imagine like every time we get an Amber Alert that internet was shut off in the GTA.
We went straight. I mean, we had this during the protests here over COVID and stuff, where the government executed their. I forget what it's called right now. It's still with me, but
Emergencies Act.
the Emergencies Act. And I remember when that happened. I'm like, look, this is messed up. Y'all just can't just start denying people and cutting out their bank accounts and really taking that sort of leap of law into the government's hand. But in Punjab and in India, I think they're number one at the number of internet cutoffs. It's like a routine.
Yeah, it's like a routine.
But maybe that's what it is. It's so normal to them that they don't even think it's a big deal.
It's kind of is. I mean,
I'm
I don't.
just saying maybe that's just normal protocol for them. They're like, oh, what's the big deal? This is what we always do. And obviously to us, it's this reaction that we're having, but maybe that's just standard protocol for them.
Yeah, and
Like, has it happened in other states? That would be my.
and that's a whole other conversation, man. I mean, that just speaks to India as a whole, like what's been going on there for the last 10, 15 years. How civil liberties and government control is kind of crept up on people and they don't even know about it. It's like being a lobster in a bucket. We're already at a point where you're cooked. You don't realize it, but you're cooked. And I see the protests happening in Israel tonight, and what's happening there, and I can't help but wonder if they are a good parallel for India, because there's so many similarities there. But I'm amazed that the protests are happening in Israel, and honestly, India's due for it, because for those that don't know, and Israel's a whole separate topic. Basically, the government's trying to topple, the.
Well, I think I want to get into Israel. I feel like we still have something. We have time to go into Israel also, but what you said is, the people in Israel felt a need to stand up to this government thing. In India, the legit in Punjab, and this is a discussion I've had with people that's really like not burned bridges, but really like where people have collided heads on. In Punjab, they cut your civil liberties. The police can almost act in large part with impunity, it seems. And everyone's kind of known this from when we were kids, stories. You get a traffic ticket, yeah, just slip them some money, they'll let you go, you keep going. And sometimes if police know that you're from out of town, they'll give you a little bit of a nudge. You don't want to mess with us type thing. How can you get on our good side? Oh yeah, thank you. Like we've all heard stories about that. So, but it's almost like it's been accepted. Like that's just how business roams. And now with the internet cutoffs and all that, we see protests everywhere happening. But in the West, in UK, in Canada, in America. And obviously, you don't get that same sort of thing in India. When part of that's kind of like, well, they're seeing all the people get arrested. No one's wanting to join that thing. But you see journalists, a lot of them saying, "Yeah, I don't think I want to talk about this," or the reverse is happening. A lot of liberal media, who you would think would be on this conservative media, I don't know how you want to, but no one's kind of saying, "Yeah, that's really fucked up," and we want to hold you guys accountable for this. Everyone's saying, like, yeah, the government
There's
doesn't
no
need
one
to
left
do
to do that.
but let's
There's no
let's
one
cut
left to
out
do
let's
that.
yeah, but let's cut out the West for a second, right? I mean, obviously, the Western perspective doesn't really matter. I mean, if it's something that actually matters to them, we were proven last year when they did the farmers' protest that when it matters to them, they will stand up. When they feel for a cause, they're going to stand up and do something, and they clearly did. I'm just not seeing the same reaction right now.
No,
Right.
there's definitely a lack of apathy. I
Yeah,
think.
it's just
Yeah.
they're like, it's an isolated situation, but we in the West feel like the situation is same. But the people there, like you say, well, they don't care as much. Yeah, they don't. When it was a farmers' protest, they did because it was going to personally affect them.
One
So they
thing I
care.
want to say is like one of the people who became famous during the farmers' protest, Navjot, I forget his last name. I can't remember if it's Sandhu or Sidhu, but it was Navjot Singh. He's the guy who caught that big water cannon to the chest, and it was part of like while they were going through the big blockade. He got arrested during this. So one part of me was
I heard about
thinking
that.
maybe they're
Yeah.
using this as a let's get some people who we wanted to talk who defied us in the past. Let's
Yeah.
catch up with
Yeah,
them
but
and give them a bit of a reminder. No,
Castellano would have also got picked up too, right? But he didn't.
which guy?
And all the union chiefs and shit like that. Laka.
Yeah. Okay.
There are lots of figureheads that were
Like-
much bigger than that guy that could have got picked up, but they didn't.
My point is, I don't think that the people there
care.
are having that visceral reaction as the West. And I think there's something to that. I mean, when I talk to family over there, everything's kosher. Like, yeah,
What's
a
your-
few days, but it's back to normal. Like, it's not
And
it hasn't impacted my life, so it's like whatever.
and it wasn't a blackout all over Punjab, or if it was, it wasn't long lasting. I mean, the people I know in the cities like
No, if you had
Jalandhar,
Wi-Fi, it was fine. Yeah,
Chandigarh.
it was mobile internet.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah, well,
mobile.
they were all good. And even then, like I think only in 3 or 4 districts was the internet cut out, Mocha being one of them. I don't know. I think people more so took the view there that hey, I'm not part of it. Doesn't affect me. We'll see what happens when the dust settles.
And is that messed up though, or is it messed up that's?
No, I think that because they're there, they live there. Who the hell are we to throw gas on that fire? I mean, and there, yeah, we can see it from the reminders and the wounds that we have from the past. But I mean, when you speak to them, it's completely 180 view, right? It's just like, no, it's all good. Like, life's back to normal. We're doing whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. As long as you're good, all right. It's not this dark cloud that's being, maybe in the media and even the other side, what's going on and radicalize this and that. I just think that's more theatrics than what's actually happening, or that's sentiments, the people that live there. So
I just want to go to an earlier point I was trying to make is that they have these like laws, these wide sweeping laws that give governments and cops power, UAPA and IA Act. You can basically be black bagged and put in prison without seeing a judge for 10, 15 days, and without a lot of evidence. Okay, so people in Punjab know that the government has these powers. They elected their officials who put forward these bills and made them laws, so everybody knows what are the consequences of rebelling. I kind of, at a certain point, you gotta think they've waited out. Is this worth it? Not so much. Farmers' protests, yes. This
it's going to affect me.
so
It's going
much.
to affect me personally. Yeah.
If I am gonna get thrown into prison over this and not see my family forever, maybe 10, 15 years, nah, I'll pass. I'll wait for something worse. And to continue to make that point, Amritpal Singh also knew about these consequences of his actions. even if they were innocent, and his goal was to just get rid of drugs in Punjab. He knew he was taking on drug cartels that have links to the government, so he's pissing off the government. And his speech, did at a certain point get political. He did start talking about Khalistan and pushing back against, the definition of Sikh in the constitution, or the lack thereof. So there were these challenges to the central government that he had that went beyond his angle of just reforming people and taking away from drugs in Punjab. So knowing about what the shitstorm could be coming at him, I gotta feel like, he knew of the consequences. He faced them face on, but he kind of didn't.
I mean, he spoke about them openly, saying, look, I know that these are topics and these are situations that don't please the government. I'm doing the job the police should be doing, so it's embarrassing for them if I'm coming out here talking about all the drugs and stuff and highlighting it. But he said, why are we subjected to not being allowed to talk about this stuff? We should be able to talk about Sikh sovereignty and what that looks like. We should be able to talk about these things openly. The fact that we're not and that we're afraid to is problematic.
Yeah.
Right. And so,
And that's fair, but but that makes sense in the West and in India and the country honestly, they're a country of sheep. That's not gonna fly, and he knew that. So I'm not saying his message is wrong in that sense that we should be allowed to speak about Khalistan, that it's their democratic right to, yes, on paper, but in practice, that's not allowed. And there might not be a will for it. So if there isn't a will for it, even a will for people to want to talk about it openly, maybe we're seeing it, that he got arrested and the Punjab hasn't, flipped upside down trying to figure out where he is. We have.
But
Here,
do
Punjab
you think
hasn't.
it's a bit naive as well as our part that we kind of hold them to the same standard as other westernized countries? And if this happened in China, we'd be like,
We're
yeah,
like, yeah, go figure.
yeah. Like, all right, what do you think was going to happen, right? But do we automatically assume that,
Yeah,
they
you need
operate at a
to
different?
democracy
I
on
mean,
paper, better just
when
run
did
like
we
that.
put
Yeah.
when do we put them on par? That's just my question. If that's how they operate and that's what they do,
I think it
then
goes back to
like you're saying, he knew the smoke would come for whatever he said. So I mean,
but I feel like it goes back to some other things we talked about where it's like, but didn't we see this coming? Yeah, we did see it coming. But now it's more of a recent example of this is everything we said was going to happen that you guys are proving us right again. And it's like, well,
but
why are we not letting?
we, right? Like if the people in the country don't care, that's where I'm getting at, right? It's just
I
we
guess
just have to
we
get out of our
here.
Western heads. Or it's easy to sit on the side and say, and they're like, no, it's
I think part of me when I say we is the West that likes to glorify and sit on a high stool when it comes to prosecuting other nations and
yeah.
putting sanctions on other nations for such violations, kind of ignoring what's going on. When it's like, look, how much more evidence do you need that this is someone that is just as bad as everyone else you like to sanction? Maybe you need to really like go at them for this, and they're just like, yeah, not the worst thing that could be doing. We're keeping a close eye on the situation. And you know what I mean? Because I think after 84, one of the big things in the West was the West doesn't know what's going on because no one's telling them. So then it came about, how do we get their attention? Okay, let's get politicians on board. But then in our generation, it kind of became clear, well, I don't think they care. I think they know, but they don't care. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing more here is we're just not seeing.
I also think they're baiting us. I think there's two factions, right? There was one faction that, you're out there protesting, you have the Khalistan flags and whatnot. That's one side of it. And the other side is the human rights side where you take a different approach, right? But taking the former, you're just giving, the government just goes to these Western nations, look, there's separatists in your country. Who was the guy who stood up in the British Parliament saying there's active Khalistani terrorists and like, and you start hearing that language, you're like, oh, you've literally walked into what they wanted you to do. Right now, if you stood as a Sikh, or that wasn't the approach, and we did it a bit differently, and say these are human rights violations, that's a different type of pressure, right? They're just justifying what they're doing. Say, look, you guys have your own domestic problem, and this is why we're doing what we're doing. It's a game. It's just like you kind of watch it, and they're probably sitting there. Look what they did at our embassy. We can justify our actions. This actually exists. This is a problem. Is it a problem? Has it been? Is this something we sit around in clubs and discuss here in the no? This is not something until we get something happens and this aggravation happens and all these guys get together and it's now it's a reason to let's go fight the man. But they've just taken that as a hey, this is a real story. This is a real
It's
problem.
also
you
like
guys have
a
in Canada.
double-edged thing, right? It's kind of like, they're baiting you. You know, when they do these things, they bait you. They show up and they
100%.
do their protests. They're baiting you. There's so much bait here.
100%.
But at the same time, another part of it is, yeah, but fuck, we're not pussies either. Yeah, you come out talking shit. It takes a lot of restraint not to want to
You just
show up
gotta
and
play
push
smarter.
back.
I'm
Right? You
saying,
know what I mean?
just gotta play smarter.
And so a lot of times
they're-
I feel like, yeah, we do take the bait, but at the same time, I can't blame us for taking the bait because there's a level of honor that needs to
I
be
think
preserved.
they play to our anger.
They
I
know
think we're known as an I think we're an angry bunch. Yeah,
Yeah.
just to flame these guys, and that's it. These guys are gonna be
They know
pissed
the
off. but
stereotype. They know it. There's truth
exactly
to it.
right.
and
And
it's
so we need
something
to.
debate,
So
but-
people need to play a bit smarter, right? That's all I'm saying. It just there's two stories going on. One in the West and what's in India. Like it's so many different stories. Even on Twitter, you're like, I don't know what's going on anymore, right? Like
So-
people are saying vile crap on Twitter. Like
And I
everyone's
get-
being called the Khalistani, and you're just like,
And I see it on the other side too, where like I see Sikhs who will take, they'll get personal and they'll make some really bad remarks towards Hindus too. I'm like, look, man, you gotta know when to draw the line. And
No, but see, the thing is, if you want to live in the West, and now you were talking about, well, we're over here. You can't say that shit here. You can't say that shit in Canada,
I
but
think you
they
just
are.
gotta not even be not being able to say that shit. I think there's some stuff you just gotta be
You
like,
shouldn't
look,
think like, yeah,
you shouldn't. That's just not part of the thinking you should have.
yeah.
But and then I'm like, I understand your anger,
Rise
I understand
above
you're
it,
angry.
right? Yeah.
and I'm not telling you where not to direct that anger, but I feel like we bait into it. And I think Harjot Bungle, the lawyer from UK, had a point where he's like, you can't be making this a human rights thing while constantly talking shit about them in
There you go.
on human
Yeah.
right form. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're gonna talk about this in human rights, you gotta at least be consistent with preserving their
And is-
level of humanity also.
I mean, aside from the random, obviously I think they say it's thousands of people that have been arrested. I mean, promoting the internet outage as a human rights issue, once again, when I think it's a normal thing in their country. And China does it all. China controls their internet.
The firewall.
You can't, I mean, is that now, are we going to protest that all the time and say this is
I
human
mean,
rights?
it's something
and we
that
need to protect-
everyone holds against China for. Is like,
No,
why do
no
you
one's
have this?
protesting it. We don't.
No one's
protest
protesting it here, like-
we as a people don't stand up and say, "Hey, we're with those people." And we got like, no. I think it's pretty normal, and that's how they control their problems. Be it right or wrong. I mean, It's not. I don't make.
I mean, the
those rules.
firewall is
I don't know where I
constantly
live at.
criticized as
No, it's
lack of
criticized.
freedoms,
But
right?
let's say in India, that's just the way they've done things for the last 10 years. Let's just say
Yeah,
that's the
but the
example.
internet is like without borders, right? So if they hear about it and know about it, then they can understand. Somebody online out there might understand that.
Mm.
one
This
thing that's
isn't
kind of
normal
driven
in
me.
most places in the world. Why are we being subjected to it? That's kind of like the angle. It's like someone not knowing they're a victim until they realize I guess, reset their normal.
And to that point, I guess, like when we see Twitter now censoring a lot of accounts at the behest of the Indian government,
Yeah.
the previous Twitter also did this. It's not just a post Elon thing, right?
But
But
they walked into their offices threatening arresting everybody at the head office, and that's
And
how
that
they got
did-
their control. Yeah.
but that didn't even come down to, Elon didn't even react to that. I think Elon took I'm not going to give this any attention,
Probably has business there. Simple as that.
And that's
Let
what I
them do
kind
they
of
want.
that was my conclusion after is maybe Twitter, because Elon said the purchase of Twitter has great benefit for Tesla. And this is, conspiracy. But Twitter is seen as this journalistic platform. It's a newspaper of degree within social media. Everyone goes to Twitter for the news. They go to see what's happening. That's where everyone looks to. If Elon can control what gets on Twitter, governments would love that because there's certain things governments don't want on Twitter. And in exchange for giving governments stricter controls and finer granularity of what's being pushed on, and Twitter has done this. The Twitter files that he exposed showed that Twitter wasn't this sanctimonious free speech place. It was whatever politics at that time that Twitter believed in.
Google's done this
Right?
for years too, right? You can't
Google,
get certain
Facebook,
searches.
they all
certain-
kind of
yeah,
do
they
this.
all do it. Yeah.
But I think Elon realized this is a poker chip he wants to control because he needs governments for Tesla. It's, how can he better suit himself than now? And so I started looking at things from that angle. And I'm like, look, we need to not be beholden to social media. It's something I thought of during the farmers' protest, that we willingly beholden ourselves to these platforms that really don't care about us.
Yeah.
And there are ways around it. That's what I guess frustrates me, is there are ways around it that we don't fully adopt.
For a minority, it's a big platform, right? It's a way to get your voice across and put a
seen.
spotlight on yourself and seen. And so I can see why it's important. But I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean,
But if it's a means for us to communicate with ourselves,
everyone's crying to Elon Musk. When I geek on now, like, come on, man.
he doesn't care. Or there comes the next time
He's
we
either
gotta accept that
he's either busy digging a hole or trying to get to the moon. Like, doesn't care, right? It's monies and more power for him. Like, move on, right? He's not gonna bow to the pressure of a more minority population because he thinks it's the right. He won't do it. It's just wasted energy. Focus on something else. So
Stepping away from, I guess, the erosion of democracy, what do you guys think, about this? There's 3 theories. He's Amritpal Singh. I'll wait for Robbie to come back. All right, he's back. So the theories are Amritpal Singh is in black bagged and in prison somewhere. Maybe we'll see him someday. Maybe we won't. He's killed. Or that it's true that he is actually on the run. The other 2 are pretty, I guess, some zero alternatives. If he's disappeared, well, we'll never know. If he is murdered, well, maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't. If he's on the run, is that a good idea for him? For his supporters?
GTA 5-star.
you mean like running?
Yeah, is running away from India, is that the right move? Is that a good look? Are
Hard
we
to say,
at
man.
the community saying yes, run away, get out of India?
I think it would hurt in some degrees, but I think it would help in others. I think it would hurt in now his detractors can say, look at you, you're a coward. Obviously, that's what the government... And I think part of me, that's the theory I'm thinking the government wants to take with this and why they keep pushing. Because I think he is disappeared. They caught him. I don't know if they're keeping him alive or if he's gone. But I think the government's end goal is to paint him as a coward of, look, he was just trying to rile you guys up to take the bullet while himself not willing to, right?
False prophet. Yeah.
And so I feel like the angle that we're going to see a lot in the future could possibly be even showing him with his haircut, saying, look, he sacrificed all that sickie that he was talking about. As soon as it got tough, he got rid of it. And here's pictures of him in, some southern state as a mona again, in hiding. So to that end, hiding, I think, plays into that narrative. But if he were to get out, gets to Canada, gets to UK, and I don't even know. And that was another thing. Do these countries allow him in as a refugee in asylum, right?
But I mean, is he been labeled a terrorist in India? I'm just asking. Is that the official designation of
the media
what
says he's a terrorist 100%. So I don't know if
forget the media. I'm just the government, right? If the government's labeled as that, then he has no rights anywhere he goes.
Yeah, so I feel like they have. So I don't know if they'll give him any sort of asylum anywhere. But to that point, if he were to get out with his case intact, with his sickie intact, and he's like, listen, this is what went down. I'm not against what I did. But he's like, for what we're trying to do, we need to keep building this morcha and we need to build momentum. I could see it hurting his image to a degree, but I think it's salvageable images that you can repair.
No, I mean, he's done. He can't go back. What imagery is he going to have?
Yeah,
He's a ground roots guy, right? I mean, that's essentially what if he's not there, what's he doing?
Yeah, I think it's a no-go for me. Only in the sense that, I mean, if I make the comparison that he likes to make himself of like Sanjanal Singh, comparison not in the sense that like he says, he's like him, but he models himself off Sanjanal Singh.
And he says, why wouldn't I model? That's someone I look up to. It's like,
yeah, that's fair.
That's my
totally
hero.
fair. Well, if that's the case, then there were 2 times from my Sanjanal Singh trivia, correct me if I'm wrong, that, there's an arrest warrant issued. The first time he walked into a police station when there was an arrest warrant issued, and, he walked in, rolled in with a bunch of his guys. He answered whatever questions. He was released right away. Second time, he's like, yeah, arrest warrant. I'm in Darbar Sahib. Come and get me. And we all know how that ended. But there was an honesty there that he lives and dies by what he believes in, and that he's not going to run, which is why, a lot of us, that's one of the things most people admired about him. So I think this hurts. If it is true that he's on the run, it's kind of like he's got a lot of people in trouble, and now you're chilling because, your wife's British or something, and you can get to the UK.
Is that he's originally, does he have a UK passport?
I have no idea, but
No.
just hypothetically, right? Like I know his wife's from not Indian, so I mean, it kind of sucks for all the people that are there who believed in him and are in jail, the 300-400 people, but he dipped. I think it deflates the movement, and I think it's fair that detraction of look, this coward ran away. I'm not calling him a coward because facing a lifetime in jail is no easy task, but
Or death.
Yeah. But you don't say it in the media that you're at the front of the movement and you'll take a bullet if you have to, right?
I think for the government, it's an interesting one. Let's say they have caught him, unless they have, they are going to plan that encounter crap that they are notorious for. They won't happen that for months. Let that shit cool down, let people forget about it, and then all of a sudden, we finally caught him. Or he actually got away, and it's a bad look for the freaking government. 27 million internet connections down, and you couldn't catch one guy. That's not a good look either, right? The dude evaded entire military force.
It's kind of like, what are they?
That's a bad look.
Take? I mean,
so I don't know which one it is, but either way, it's not.
But I always felt like the government
they got to play very carefully.
They
got to play very carefully right now, right? So
like, I would think they'd be more willing to look like fools for not being able to catch him and just have him disappear, and continuously try to leak these blurred, pixelated, 1980s, CCTV video footage of him.
I saw the dude with the goggles walking away or whatever.
Yeah, and
some Sardars crossing the street is like Amritpal Singh.
He had an umbrella. The umbrella one was funny. But yeah, in my opinion, their whole thing is going to be, now let's show him to get rid of his hero. How do you get rid of his hero? Show him having sacrificed his Sikhi to get away, right? To catch him and like shave his. They're like, I wouldn't put it past them for them to shave his head and say, "Look, we found him. He's dead. He had his hair slicked back when we caught him, and he tried to fire at us."
They could cut his hair. They could cut his hair right now. We don't know, right? I mean,
like I could see them doing a lot of things, but they can't just cut his hair in jail and say, "Look, we caught him in jail with his haircut," because then people are like, no. But they got to catch him in a way that really like makes us feel like, oh man, that was really cowardice. And I feel like that's what they want us to. That's where I take all these images and he's running from us. Here's where we saw him last, like Carmen Sandiego things.
The only reason why I don't think he's actually caught is because Indians are notoriously terrible at keeping secrets, especially like if it's like any lull of a cop is involved, like it's getting out. These guys are on the border, like doing covert ops and sending videos to their boys in the bend, and like that's pretty normal. So, fuck. Like in that sense, like I kind of figure like if he's in jail or in prison somewhere, someone would say something by now.
At the same time, we still don't know who.
But
we still don't know who caught Khadra, right? Like we don't know names of all the cops that were
different era.
You still, I think they know how to keep a secret when they want to. They could easily say, "Hey, look, and you saw this. Someone put a bounty saying $150,000 USD in rupees for anyone who snitches and tells us what's good." Is that enough to motivate a cop, you think? Or are these the cops on the in that say, "Listen, if it goes out, we know it was only you 12 who were in on this. If it comes out, we know where to crack down. And you saw what we did to them. We're
I
gonna do
mean,
worse
look,
to our own.
that was just a nice headline. I can't imagine that actually being real. Because what? Someone in India is going to say, yes, here's money to go against the state and, be a traitor. Like, no, your money's going to get seized. So if it's somebody outside of India saying, hey, here's 1 crore, pass on information, well, that money's not good to anybody in India, right?
I mean, or it's like, okay,
That's a nice
this is gonna be
headline.
my exit out of
It
India.
was pretty impractical. I mean, it was a cute headline. Yeah.
But anyways, that's kind of where we're at that. But let's get back to Israel now. So people in Israel are angry. What happened in Israel that got people angry?
Well, I guess the background you kind of got to understand is Israel is a country that is governed by a lot of political parties. So it's not like, Canada has like really two, I guess, 3, 4 parties, but 2 main ones. In parliament right now, there's like 10, 15, okay, in Israel. And they are constantly, last little while, have been swapping rule. Like, so there's 1 PM for like 8 months, 10 months, because they're governed by factions. Okay. A couple of parties be like, I have this many seats, I have this many seats. I will, say okay to these bills if you make me prime minister and give us like the lead on decision making, right? So over the last like 3, 4 years, I think new PMs have been coming in because of this like power sharing agreement that these parties are coming up with, and constantly destabilize it as soon as there's like a little bit of friction. So Benjamin Netanyahu, whatever, BB.
Wow, you said that really pretty well. That was some. I've been rehearsing this name.
No, I think I said it wrong. But everybody calls him
Sounded right to me.
BB as a nickname. So BB, he was in power for a long time. He was a long-serving prime minister. Then, due to some corruption charges, he got ousted. But they're just charges. He hasn't been convicted. There was, power changed hands a few times, and somehow he's found himself back into the seat of power. He hasn't been convicted yet. His conviction apparently was almost certain. And if he's convicted, then he'd be ruled unfit to lead, and that would again create another power vacuum. So Bibi comes into power, and all of a sudden he puts forward this bill that says we, the government, are able to, I guess, veto the Supreme Court. We can also are going to change what the jurisdiction of the courts are, what issues they can decide on, and really take full control of the country. So in essentially, the government would run the country with no checks to power, like we have here and other democracies where there's the courts and the government constantly checking each other's power. Okay. So this pissed off a lot of people because the current government, if you had to describe them, they're pretty right-wing conservative. And same with the faction parties. And, BB promised all these parties that, look, like, I promise I'll push this bill through, and then we can, move forward with our agenda, which is pretty shitty if you're a Palestinian or an Arab Israeli citizen. And anyone else who's like center or left there, right? So people started protesting, saying, this is essentially a dissolution of our democracy. And
How did the other factions react, though? Wouldn't other factions know
the
that
other
this
faction are pushing against it, but they don't have enough votes. This faction in power right now, they're
they have the majority.
pushing up BB as long as you got to get this through. And BB, this guy, he needs this because he needs to push this bill through before he gets convicted for corruption, right? Because as soon as he gets his bill through, he's going to shut that shit down.
He can shut the courts down. That case is no longer
Yes.
okay.
Okay, so they can't meddle with him being in power. So he needs this. All right, so now we got mass protests in Israel, but he doesn't give a fuck because it's just people protesting, not a big deal. But then all of a sudden, all the reservists, they're like, we're joining the protest. And this
So that's a
is
coup.
huh?
That's kind of like a coup.
No, not the whole army, but like
No,
the
reserves.
reserves in Israel are a big deal. They're considered heroes. In Israel, like when you're 18, you have to do a tour or a couple
Yeah,
of tours.
2 years, I think it is, right?
Israel
Yeah.
Defense Force, you're part of IDF, and then you're part of reserves. So everybody you grew up with has at some point, served, and a lot of people will say, okay, a lot of people say I've done my 2 years, I'm never going to do this again. But a lot of people say, hey, look, I'll be in the reserve force. I'm a patriot. If you ever need me, call me up. All of a sudden, these reserve air force and there's one other arm of their their service wing. It was the air force and one other one. They're like, we are going to join the protests because this is fucked up. And that's when it's like, fuck, like, this is fucked up. And today, the defense minister agreed. They're like, yeah, this is fucked up, and he got fired. And now we're seeing the mass protests we are today, going to 2-3 a.m. in Israel. But I couldn't help but think that this is like India in so many ways, because Israel is a country that's surrounded by a whole bunch of Arab countries that would love to see Israel wiped off the map, more or less. So they have this like deeply entrenched patriotism built up about their country, about, you can say whatever you want, but Israel's number one. You don't fuck with Israel. You don't destabilize the country internally because you have too many external enemies. The army is untouchable. It's like a something that you don't fuck with. It's salute the flag, American style patriotism. India has that too. The Braves, the Bravehearts, right? You don't fuck with the army, their reputation. But the attack on civil liberties is so blatant this time, so bad, that everybody, including members of the armed wing or the service wing, were like, fuck it. Like, this is too far. BB, you've gone too far. We're going to protest. So we don't really talk about Israel too much. Not that we need to. I took a personal interest to it and looked into it just because like, fuck, like they mirror Indian society in a certain way. Because India has all these external factors of like, quote unquote Pakistan. I don't believe that much, but China, being against them, those external enemies, economic or military wise, and there's a sense of anything that is anti-Indian is anti-national, and you're an enemy of the state.
Basically, why they hate Punjabis.
And that's Punjabis and all the farmers' protests, any protest against government is considered anti-national. They just fucking broad strokes it. But at a certain point, like the average person in India outside of Punjab has got to say, yo, look, they censor media, they censor lawyers, they can manage what I do and don't see on TV and on the internet. I am being fed information, and the day they go after the courts. Oh, and get this, Rahul Gandhi, who is the leader of the opposition.
I was actually curious about that. Does this tie into them kicking out
Rahul Gandhi, the face of the opposition? He just got convicted to go to jail for 2 years for defamation of Modi. So with him gone, like in Parliament, who the fuck is going to say anything to Modi now? Nobody, right?
It's like, we're getting rid of you for talking shit to us.
Rubber stamp everything. So the erosion of democracy in India is so crazy. I'm shocked that we're not seeing things, or it's not creeping towards what we're seeing in Israel right now. I'm fucking like.
But is it the same thing where people are just like, it doesn't really affect us? Like just like we're seeing in Punjab, where they're just like, it's okay.
Do you think they're not? Do you think people don't understand it though? I mean, you have a country that's made up of so many different languages.
Or have they just not had time to react?
They all speak. The government mostly speaks in English at times or Hindi, and half the country can't even understand it. Let alone understand what the hell's going on in the government or it affects them in daily life. Most people are out there just trying to eat.
It's a country that has the largest English-speaking population in the world.
Yeah.
Especially amongst the young. They have a huge middle class now that keeps growing month by month. I gotta believe that they can't just be so stupid. There's something that hasn't happened outside of Punjab. With the penny.
I mean, the media is all biased as well, right?
It's all controlled, right?
I mean, it's kind of like a Fox News situation where it's not really, they're kind of dictating what.
But they do have
People think.
alternative media because we do see left-wing journalism and stuff in India,
And-
which is
But there's no like media house for it anymore. It's all gone. It's all bought up. There is no CBC. There is no like alternative view there. There is no CNN versus Fox News. They're all Fox News, and then you have a couple of reporters and independents, but there's no network. That's the fucked up part. But
kinda
it's so
wild,
blatantly
though,
obvious. I'm
'cause-
wondering why the penny hasn't fallen in all over. Like the places that are expected to happen are Bombay, Bangalore, Chennai, Delhi, but you don't see that yet, and it's fucking crazy. There's a few universities that are like, yo, this is fucked up. Very liberal universities like JNU and Delhi comes to mind. They protest all the time, but it's actually crazy that there's not widespread protest near Parliament in India.
we also saw protests in France where the government was like, yeah, we want to push the age of retirement that you start getting your pension by 2 years, and the country got up. They like took a break from eating cheese and crackers to, they got up there with their baguettes.
France will protest a traffic
Anything.
jam.
They won't protest anything.
They'll have a traffic jam and protest.
But those protests were pretty crazy, the recent ones.
No, they have a culture of protest. Like
But
France,
this was a valid protest.
it is
I'd be
a valid
pissed.
protest.
I'd be pissed.
I can only imagine.
But
Like,
it- everything.
Measure 62, and they just announced that shit. I'd be so pissed. These fuckers got me.
the
in
world's
hook.
at an interesting place right now, and I mean, obviously, I look at what's happening in Canada, and I'm like, well, how do our governments react to this or see it? None of our governments really care about what's happening in Punjab. Now we'll see how they react to what's happening in Israel. Obviously, some will say, because governments, both U.S. and Canada, have been pretty soft in general on Israel in the past. They kind of give them a free get out of jail card for misdoings, where they'll criticize
but, I
them,
mean,
slap on the
that's-
wrist, and then they'll
yeah.
donate a bunch for their military or whatever they can.
Yeah, but that's us being naive, thinking that these countries actually care about human rights. That's the facade, right? It's all about trade and money at the end. It's the top dollar that wins, right? And think about all the. They could say they're concerned. We're very concerned. We're very concerned. We're looking into this. Doesn't mean shit. If it's going to affect a trade deal or affect some kind of program, they're not going to touch it. Not with a 10-foot pole.
And then we
Right,
still have
or
the
some
war in Ukraine
donors
going
or-
on. The world's at an interesting precipice
Interesting
right now.
place. Well, the bank, this Silicon Valley Bank or whatever it is, just
That's a whole different topic. I don't even know
a
how
whole
to.
different. The world's a mess, man.
I'm gonna save our listeners from that topic for today because we are edging the hour 20 mark.
Yeah.
But it is. I just find that we're a matchstick away from. Everyone's pissed off at something. Interest rates are going up everywhere. Everyone's feeling the pinch at the stores. Governments are choosing sides. The lines are getting a little thinner in various regards.
Been too stable for too long. That's what you're saying.
It's we're at an uncomfortable place to some degree.
Yeah.
And now I think we're just waiting on what is that nail that breaks everyone's comfort. Where everyone comfort around the world is being
It's
challenged.
the straw that breaks. No, not the nail.
Yes, this is fuck you. This is all over me going after the other word, right? Yeah. Doom and gloom, really.
It's a great-
And I don't know. I know that what's happening.
It's a powder keg, which again, you fucked up another saying with the matchstick thing. But no,
Like-
what you're saying is correct, man.
Shinda, what's the canary one? What's the canary one?
Coal in the
You got that
canary.
The coal in the canary, yeah. The coal in the canary. Yeah, that's great.
Canary in the coal mine. Listen, English isn't my strongest language. Neither is Punjabi. Communication isn't a strong suit for someone who sits on a podcast board.
Yeah, and it has to code in like crazy complex languages.
Yeah, even that sometimes I question how I'm able to get through my day. Luckily, ChatGPT will take me over and I'll just have it sit here and feed into my language. That's another thing that's kind of interesting in the world right now is everything can be faked so easy. We're seeing them. We saw news channels in India saying, we got his WhatsApp voice messages and here's some pictures that we drew up in like AI. And there's so much that a normal person wouldn't believe is possible. You can literally mimic someone's voice and make them say whatever you want from 3 seconds.
The world's
No,
upside
that
down, man.
AFK,
I even heard Terry, famous Terry,
yeah.
CBC Terry, going against India. I never thought this would happen. He said Indian politicians need to grow up. I'm like, what
Man,
is
the checks
happening in
didn't
the world?
clear. The check stopped clearing.
Upside down world. That's what it is right now, man. Nothing makes sense.
Amritpal's crew wearing those AFK thing body armor. That was
legit. That was indoctrinated.
indoctrinated. That was a bad move. Then.
But they were licensed weapons.
Or
You're allowed
AKF,
licensed weapons. You know, shooting your
Yeah.
range. If I
Fine,
go,
I'm talking about optics. I'm talking about optics.
it's a bad optics. I agree. If it's like me wearing some sort of, you know, any sort of jersey or even a Central Nelson shirt while I go to the range, it's gonna. If that ever gets out, it's a bad look. People are gonna spin it. I know how they're gonna spin it. If you know what I found most interesting.
Someone
With it,
who was trying to say my message is Sikhi Prachar and
listen, man,
you know,
carrying
I-
guns is Sikhi Prachar. I don't want to.
no, but the AKF, it wasn't even like original. That's my biggest beef with it.
I
It
think
was something original.
I think what I appreciated about it was in the NWO font. They use like the Tahoma thing, and I was like, imagine going. What if they were in like DWO shirts or PWO shirts or KWO Khalistan World Order? I'd give them a tip for that. I'm like, I appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe. Fine, at least it's original.
But I remember like when we were kids and like even in high school, we would all try to. I mean, I'm not going to say speak for everyone, but we all try to get nice pictures by going to America, going to Walmart, and grabbing a shotgun. You know, that little chain, like shoulder strap, shotgun bullet holder thing.
Yeah.
I ain't putting those pictures
But
out there, but
if you're 30 years old and you're in the media every day and scrutinized for every action, you might not do that.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we
it
were
might not be
we were
bad.
early 20s at that time, but
Yeah.
I always thought it was a cool little look.
It was prior to social media days too, right? So
That was prior social media days, so those images had nowhere to go other than someone coming over like, "Yo, look what I
They were
got
just-
from
they were
Walmart."
they were just as pixelated as the pictures that the Indian media has been
Yeah.
putting out. Couldn't tell who it was.
I mean, I found this
Yeah.
old video of mine shot on like one of those flip phones, like those old Nokias from a gun
Yeah.
range, where I was like unable to unlock the safety. So I was like, yeah, it's probably better that social media wasn't near as prevalent at that time. But because obviously I'd share it on YouTube and
But
Twitch
nothing.
and everywhere, but
As long as the violence, man, it's all about.
how
There's
people
no violence. Don't need violence. Just
But violence is
it'll-
the only language people
hopefully-
know. It's the most universal language is violence.
I know. Sad.
Pastors
Cool.
Robbie has spoken. Anyways, man, it was great catching up with you guys. There's so much
Yeah.
other stuff that happened. There are like
Thanks.
12 other
Thanks for
headlines.
making me so happy. Thanks for making me so happy. I feel
We'll
great.
talk about
This guy's-
Positive
China,
podcast.
China influencing Canada on the next
There's
podcast.
China
Yes,
influence. We didn't even talk about the Singh who got killed from Canada and India during Hola Mahalla. That happened
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
when we were gone. There's just every week that we weren't podcasting, there was like this giant headline like that deserves a conversation, and here we are
Well,
talking about
we'll,
raccoons in gutters
more
and
regular again,
eavesdrops.
guys. So next week.
What is the over under on this podcast getting noticed and blackballed? Because low key, I think that would do numbers for us overall. But
I feel like you're gonna do it, and you're gonna put us in a precarious situation. So please don't.
I got the title in my head
You're
already.
gonna put some crazy hashtags underneath to get a notice.
That's what I
I'ma
know. He's
get
planning
the-
it. He's already like fighting some guy on Twitter. I keep watching this. I'm like, this guy's gonna get us
Who did I
banned.
fight on Twitter? I don't fight no one on Twitter, man. I'm like the most humble guy on Twitter. My Twitter following is so like 1992 in terms of actual engagements I get. It's kind of sad, really.
I recently went to some Bindu's house. They needed somebody from my parent. They needed help, legal help. So it was late at night, and they had the kids around, and there was a young Singh there, and he was a computer programmer. He was like a little bit younger than us, and I was like, "By any chance, do you happen to Shinda?" He's like, "No." Wait, you mean the guy on Twitter, right? I was like, "Yeah, you do. You know."
No
so
one
you,
knows.
you got a bit of a
Shinda's out
follow.
there, yo.
Nah, bro, trust me, I know my place. I'm an old ass boomer who friggin' has no place in this new world. We're being replaced by AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyways, thanks for painting that pretty picture. Just
We're
a beam
ancient,
of
man.
positivity today, isn't he?
Listen, man, my kid got a basketball today, and he insisted on sleeping with the ball. He's like, "Can I?" I'm like, "Hey,
Ball is life.
ball is life," type kid, eh? No, legit. So I bought him a bike and a basketball. He forgot about the bike, just wanted to play with the basketball. And then he's like, "Can we go to the park play?" I'm like, "No, we'll go tomorrow." You know what's really got him on the basketball thing right now? Like, he's always loved basketball because we kind of instilled it with him. Like, hey, here's that type. I started showing him videos of Spider-Man playing basketball. I don't know if you ever across this wormhole. Do you guys remember the N1 mixtapes?
Yeah.
Yes. The professor. Do you remember who the professor was in the N1 mixtapes? The small little white guy. Crazy
yeah.
handles.
Yeah.
Obviously, post N1 didn't go into the NBA. He ended up finding a second life as a YouTuber. And one of his early things that really like started his channel and made him go viral was he dressed up as Spider-Man, and he'd go to random courts and challenge people to play one-on-one, and he'd like school the shit out of them dressed as Spider-Man. And so I'm showing my kid this video of him, like, he's obviously young, he thinks it's real Spider-Man. I had to explain to him, like, look, it's not the real Spider-Man, it's a guy dressed up as Spider-Man playing basketball. So the basketball's real, the Spider-Man's not. But he's like, I want to learn how to do that move that Spider-Man did. I want to learn this move. I'm like, you know, is this the right time to introduce him to the N1 mixtapes? But that's inspired him to, you know, want to sleep with his basketball. So I thought it was cute. But I'm also kind of like, he's like, Papa, can you teach me this move? I'm like,
Yeah. Fuck no. You're on your own.
I crossed him over and I'm like, see, I did it. The ball went from this hand to this hand. And I tried to make it look good, kind of. I'm like, I know how to put it through my legs. Look. Now I'm kind of like, who do I know that has handles that I could like introduce him to? And no, I have no one.
Oh, buddy.
Nobody. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Anyways, boys, if you made it this far in the podcast, be sure to hit like and subscribe and leave a comment saying you got there. Please just say what's up. Tell us how you feel.
Are you there?
Are you there?
Are you out there?
Are you out there? Yeah. It's on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on every podcasting platform.
We might not be around next week if Shinda has anything to do with it. So,
Man.
Listen, I feel like we were
enjoy the catalog. Enjoy the catalog.
Everything. We were a very balanced conversation. Let's just hope this actually recorded. Anyway, boys, peace.
Peace.